So, to continue this presentation, we show you the research purpose statement. The purpose of this quantitative research is to understand, explore, examine, and determine the importance of L2 acquisition in the learning of the students who are about to graduate from the Unidad Educativa Sagrados Corazones Centro. The instrument used in this study will be through a survey, the same ones that will be created through the Google Forms tool, and the data will be obtained by applying the survey to 80 students of third BGU. So, the independent variable is students who are about to graduate from the high school. And the dependent variable it is important is the importance of the acquisition of L2 in the learning of the students who are about to graduate from the high school.
This study examines L2 acquisition and learning in 17 years old students, focusing on English as a target language. Stephen Krashen acquisition learning hypothesis is a case on distinguishing subconscious acquisition from conscious learning. The second language acquisition SLA perspective emphasizes mindful input, interaction, and individual difference. In language acquisition, Larsen Freeman and Anderson principles align with SLA interactive communicative approach. Warren and Takati's research on vocabulary acquisition through comprehensive input echoes in SLA principles. Incorporating these techniques can enhance language learning, fostering comprehensive skills. This convergence between theory and research underscores the value of evidence-based language pedagogy. Finally, classrooms require a balance between learning and acquisition for holistic language proficiency. Thank you.
Now, the research question is, how important is the acquisition of English as an L2 in the academic performance of third BGU students at Sagrados Corazones Central School? So, this research question is really important for our topic, for our investigation, and is really important for data collection in this research.
Hypothesis. Null hypothesis. There will not be a negative impact when acquire English as a L2 to improve the academic performance of their BGU students at Sagrados Corazones Centro School. Alternative hypothesis. There will be a positive impact when acquiring English as an L2 to improve the academic performance of their BGU students at Sagrados Corazones Centro School. Thank you.
Population and selection. Population, the totally is the set limited consists of 100 students of 3 VGU below to high school Sagrado Corazones in the center during the academic period 2022 2023. Sample. Although the population consists of 100 students, carry out data collection on an often years of facade in views of we of the sample consists of 80 students. One of the cells will be experimental group, with the other will play the role of the control group. The assessment of members to thought group with the recognized with 40 students each group. Okay, we will proceed with exam each of them to gain a deeper understanding of the research and interpret their significance.
Representation and interpretation of data. As well mentioned before, the research instrument applied in the study is the 10 question survey prepared using Google Forms, where with the help of it, a graph of each question was generated. We will proceed to analyze of each one to them to learn more about the investigation and interpret them. The first question is, how often do you practice the English language outside the classroom to improve your level of English? On the 80 participants, 31, the 38.7% people choose the usually option, followed by 28, 35% people who answer sometimes, 14, the 17.5% people, but never, and the remaining 7, 8.8% people choose the always option. More than half of the participants put their knowledge into practice outside the classroom in order they constantly improve their level of English. The second question is, how often do you dare to speak English even when you are afraid of making a mistake? Of the 80 participants, 33, the 41.3% people selected sometimes option, followed by 23, the 28.7% people voted for the usually option, the 19, the 23.8% people choose the never option, and the remaining 5, the 6.3% people voted for the always option. More than half of the participants are the ones who dare to speak up in class, even with the fear of making a mistake and being corrected by the teachers to improve their learning so as not to make the same mistake again. The third question is, how often do you watch English programs to improve your listening? Of the 80 participants, 33, the 47.5% people choose option sometimes, followed by 22, the 27.5% people voted for the option usually, the 50% people select the option always, and remaining the 8, the 10% people choose the option never. More than half of the participants watch English language programs to acquire the language and improve their English. The fourth question is, how often do you listen to music and try to understand and sing its lyrics to improve your hearing and pronunciation? Of the 18 participants, 30, the 37.5% people choose the usually option, followed by 29, the 36.3% people choose the option sometimes, 19, the 23.8% people select the always option, and the remaining 2, the 2.5% people voted for the option never. More than half of the participants listen to music in English and try to sing along with the lyrics to understand the music, improve their listening and learning in a fun and interactive way by doing something they enjoy. The fifth question is, how often do you feedback your English at home? Of the 80 participants, 38, the 47.5% people choose the sometimes option, followed by 22, the 27.5% people who voted for the usually option, 13, the 16.2% people select the option never, and the rest, the 7, the 8.8% people voted for the always option. More than half of the participants give feedback at home to reinforce the force something have learned because they know it helps them in their English language learning. Question 6 is, how often do you try words in English that I don't understand and look up their meaning? Of the 80 participants, 40, 50% people select the something option, followed by 21, 26.2% people voted for the usually option, 12, 15% people choose the never option, and the remaining 7, the 8.8% people voted for the always option. More than half of the participants write down the words they don't understand and they look up their meaning. This is an important point as it helps them to acquire vocabulary. The seventh question is, How often do you speak English with your classmates to improve your acquisition of the English language? English language. Of the 80 participants, 35% of the 80 participants, 35, the 43.8% people select the sometimes option, followed by 25, the 25% people voted for the usually option, the 18, the 22.5% people choose the never option, and the remaining 7, 8.8% people voted for the always option. More than half of the participants try to speak English with their peers to improve their acquisition in English language. The eighth question is, how often do you read a not tropical book in English to improve your vocabulary? Of the 80 participants, 30, the 37.5% people answer the never option, followed by the 26, the 32.5% people select the sometimes option, and the 21, the 26.3% people choose the usually option, and the remaining 3, the 3.8% people voted for the always option. 3, the 37.5% people don't read any kind of book in English to improve their vocabulary, while the rest do read some kind of book in English either frequently or unfrequently, but do so. On the other hand, reading books helps to acquire vocabulary in English and recognize words little by little. The eighth question is, how often do you feel motivated to acquire English as a second language? Of the 80 participants, 35, the 43.8% people select the option sometimes, followed by 24, the 30% people voted for the usually option, the 8 18, 22.5% people choose the always option, and the remaining 3, the 3.7% people answer the never option. More than half of the participants do feel motivated to acquire English as an L2 second language. The question 10 is, how often do you consider it necessary to learn English as an L2 for your current and future life? On the 80 participants, 35, the 40, 43.7% people answer the usually option, followed by 26, the 32.5% people choose the always option, the 14, the 17.5% people select the sometimes option, and the remaining 5, the 6.3% people voted for the never option. More than half of the participants consider that it is necessary to learn English as an L2 for current and future life, as it opens many doors for them, because English is currently the most widely spoken language in more than 60, 67
Good evening, dear teacher. I'm Jennifer Collaguaso. Finally, each one which state there will a positive impact of the acquisition of English as a second language in improving the academic performance of three PGU students of Sagrados Corazones Centro is accepted as there is a positive impact of the acquisition of language as a second language. Conclusions. 1. In conclusion, the findings of this study reveal a striking alignment between the strategies employed by more than half of the participants and Krashen theory of a second language acquisition. Krashen emphasized on real-world application, find resonance in the participants' proactive engagement, as they consequently put their knowledge into practice outside the classroom to enhance their English competence. This mirrors the significance of the compressed input in language acquisition, as participants actively seek out English language programs and music to expose themselves to authentic language use. 2. The participants' willingness to express themselves in class, despite the fear of making mistakes, allows for the creation of a conducive environment for learning from their error or mistakes, facilitating a supportive atmosphere for language acquisition. Additionally, the practice of noting unfamiliar words and checking their meanings align with crush and emphasis on vocabulary development. As participants gradually expand their lexical repertoire through reading and voluntary explanation of vocabulary, they reflect the principle of the input hypothesis, where expose the new words in context contributes to language learning. 3. The participant's motivation to acquire English as a second language resonates with the notion of intrinsic motivation, argued to be a crucial factor in successful language acquisition. The recognition of the role of English in opening doors to numerous opportunities, driven by the desire to communicate in the target language, in this case is English, problems affecting learning, moreover, the acknowledgement by more than half the participants regarding the necessity of learning English for concurrent and future life alignment with crushing assertion that language learning is essential for meaningful participation in a globalized world. English is vitality in this life. Okay? 4. In a sense, this study is not only highlighting the strategies employed in this study by more than half of the participants to enhance their English competence, but also substantiates the applicability of Krashen theoretical framework by reflecting Krashen principle and comprehensible input, affective filter, vocabulary acquisition, intrinsic motivation, and the role of language in a global context. The participation of participants' effort exemplifying the compatibility between theory and practice in the field of second language. Thank you. Recommendation: taking into account the importance of studying English as a second language, the recommendation issues are to improve the academic performance of third-year high school students. 1. Promote real-world application, encourage students to apply their English language skills beyond the classroom, organize activities that involve real world, such as discussion, role-playing, or writing projects. This approach emphasizes practical use and can increase learners' confidence in using English in a variety of contexts. 2. Create a supportive learning environment. Foster a classroom atmosphere where students feel comfortable expressing themselves without the fear of making mistakes. This aligns with Krashen's affective filter hypothesis, which suggests that lowering anxiety can enhance language acquisition and encourage the student to share their thoughts, opinions, and thus facilitate interactive language learning. 3. Encourage vocabulary development. Emphasize the importance of vocabulary acquisition. Encourage students to keep vocabulary journals where they note unfamiliar words encountered during reading or listening activities. 4. Foster intrinsic motivation. Connect the learning of English to students' personal interest and future aspirations. Highlight the global significance of English in various fields from career opportunities to cultural exchange, but emphasizing the intrinsic value of English.